Hello and welcome to the Holy Hour, the bi-weekly All Cure podcast. I'm Gavin, and we have a wonderful episode for you guys. Today, we are joined by a new buddy, Mike White. How's it going, man?
Hi, Gav. Very well, thank you, and thanks for having me on the show.
Our
That's great.
pleasure. You're a writer, a musician, and just an all-around great dude. I've enjoyed getting to know you and talking to you on the side
That's very
here.
kind.
So.
But same here. I feel exactly the same way. It's been a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for being willing and making the time today. I know the time difference and stuff, it could be a little weird scheduling over there in the UK, but
No, that's perfect. And it's funny actually when I subscribed to the podcast last year, but I wouldn't have thought that I'd actually be.
Here you are.
Had a chance to be on it, and here we are. Awesome.
Want to join? That's how it works around here. You can be here. But yeah, I mean, I talked to you recently. You're a writer or do some freelance stuff officially, or is it?
Yeah, funny enough, I started contributing to a new magazine that's come out over here called Blitzed.
Yeah.
And that started. To date, they've been published. There was a pilot issue and then 2 official issues.
Okay, so pretty new.
And I didn't write for the pilot, but I just got an opportunity to write a small piece for the first issue.
Yeah.
And that was actually on Head on the Door.
Yeah, awesome.
and which was really good fun. And I didn't know if I would get a chance to write for the next issue. And I'm still doing it. So I've done a number of articles.
Awesome.
And an interview.
Yeah, so that's cross paths. I did an interview for Blitzed. I guess we'll see if I make the cut there. Maybe
I'm sure.
That's no hard feelings either way. It was fun and a good excuse to get to know you. So, but yeah, that was my only in the rider was that if we do the interview, then you have to be on the Holy Hour too. So here you are.
Oh right, well that works out really well.
Yeah, so
for me,
we go this far. We might as well soak both sides of the Cure talk, right? So.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So with that, I've been writing each month now and doing contributions, which will be ad hoc.
Yeah.
But I've really enjoyed it
and
more
than
I thought actually. So.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I was saying it's a magazine that kind of leans towards like older alternative music and such.
Yeah,
right?
it's basically rooted in the 80s. And so that Blitz, the Blitz Club.
Yeah.
But it deals with modern bands as well, whose influences come from the 80s.
Right.
But it does cover quite a lot of ground. And at the moment, I think there's a bit of an 80s revival going on. I mean, there was an article in the Times a few months ago about how that's the case. So the timing of the magazine, coming in now and how it can develop, the possibilities are kind of endless.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe as I just get older, it's harder to see where the influence relapses are coming. Is it 90s? Is it 80s? But I think everything's just getting so blended too, and something with these like classic alternative new kind of new wave bands, whatever you want to call them, from that era. I think now too they're all getting more recognition and stuff because they are getting on in their age and stuff. You start getting a little bit more not only like nostalgia for it, but also like new bands are influenced by it, but also just, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame kind of things, caliber of like people being like, yeah, Depeche Mode was huge. They're awesome. Like people are finally kind of giving these bands the credit they deserved from, way back when even. So it's cool.
And I think, and over time, as I guess, with a loving a band like The Cure, your relationship with the music changes over the years. And so, now that, there are a lot of 40th anniversaries. Yeah. It's a long time, but still a lot of the music is still fresh for people. There are younger people which are getting into it. And so it's like a passing on of the torch.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think the 80s, was and also it was when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
So having a chance to go back and look at things again, and reassess and even and learn more as well.
Yeah, it's
You
cool
never
to
really take as much in as you think you do at the time.
right.
And
And
so
realize
that's going to be fun for me to go back and look at stuff that I loved
cool.
and write about it. Funny enough, I've just written a piece for it will be in the next issue, and that was on Blade Runner, the
Okay,
soundtrack.
yeah.
And that was, I thought, oh right, that'd be fun. But then I thought, oh god, I've bitten off more than I can chew because it's iconic.
Yeah,
So I
there's
ended
a
up doing
lot.
all this research and hours and hours and hours. But it was great though, seeing the
Yeah,
film again and listening to the soundtrack and that. But
awesome.
I found with the Cure over the years, that I've just never, there's certain music that or albums that just sort of come in and out of my consciousness, but I've never been done with it.
Yeah, they're
Always
still
been
stirring around.
something that I can find in it, and as you said in the interview, that the excitement that I feel when I listen to those songs still is just the same.
Yeah,
It's not changed.
it's so weird. Yeah, you'd
Yeah,
think somehow it would wear off or something, but but yeah, if anything, it just shifts a little bit. It's a whole new weird feelings and stuff. So it's
yeah,
great. So, yeah, well, I guess on that angle too, we're gonna kick things off. We're merging this episode in with some high talk and sticking with the anniversary talk, but we're also gonna get your origin tale. We got listener contributions, so tons of fun stuff to get through on this
great.
episode. And yeah, thanks for being on board. Like we said, we're shifting from anniversary talk of pornography back to only 30 years ago versus 40 years ago. So
I feel like a spring landing.
yeah,
Yeah,
so we don't have to feel quite as old now. So
yeah,
it's 30 years on for the single high as well. And it's a weird song because I don't think anybody feels I haven't heard anybody like just full on be like, that single sucked." Like how some people can be a little
yeah.
hard, especially by about Wish on. Everybody has like some very definitive statement on Friday I'm in love. Oh, Team Friday I'm in love or not, and stuff like that. And
That's right.
yeah, but
Yeah,
everybody seems fairly cool with High though. Whether it's their, but nobody's really like absolute favorite song probably. But it's just a Cure staple in a sense too, where it's up
yeah.
there.
It's
But
um, I bought the 12 inch, and I don't remember having heard the song before I bought it
yeah,
because when I got it home, I'm sure I bought it during the day when I was at work, lunchtime or something.
yeah.
Got it home, and I put the side on first, which had the writing. So I actually thought that this Twilight Garden was the
Was the
single,
okay? Yeah,
and I fell in love with that immediately.
yeah.
That so much so that when I got married, Sarah and I, that was our first dance.
Awesome. So
It's a
yeah,
really special song.
that's
But
perfect.
the thing
Yeah,
about the high 12 inch is that you've got the higher mix,
yeah,
and I think if anyone's on the fence about the song or think it's sort of like a bit of pop fluff, and especially the single version, the
yeah,
12 inch opens it out. Like those pop-up books.
yeah,
There are certain ideas or things that were maybe buried in a mix that are like over quite quickly
yeah,
that they bring forward for the 12 inch. And I think that that's quite special for, so if you haven't heard the song in a while and you're maybe a bit sort of, it's not one of my favorites, but I do like it.
yeah,
The 12 inch is a great way to go back and just appreciate just how
yeah,
much is in it and how clever it is. I don't want to get all sort of artsy and say, well, this bit's clever,
yeah,
but it
yeah,
really is. And you've got the panning and stuff gives you the illusion you're up in the air and there's things going around you. It swirls, and at the start of the high mix, you've got it's like a sequence, which I think it's like lots of triplets
mm-hmm.
and that is just slightly dark. And you might almost miss that in the single.
Right,
It
right,
just changes the mood a bit. So when they've done the remix, you've got that at the start, and it's not as sort of, it just brings a sort of slight bit of darkness to it,
right.
and that's what I love about that higher mix. And as I said, if anyone wants to go back and listen to that
Yeah,
it
definitely
it will
recommend.
open the song up a lot more, I
That or
think.
on the CD single, I guess, is all the same full batch where you have because I didn't have the 12-inch, but I was all about like the CD singles, the maxi single, I guess they would call it, where
Yeah,
it's that Play and Twilight Garden. But yeah, it is crazy. And, for as much talk lately as since the Dave Allen talk and stuff like that of like Mark Saunders mixing it versus Dave Allen and how we all want to hear the
yeah,
Dave Allen, but at the same time, credit to Mark Saunders on just those mixes for the extended ones because he did the ones for Disintegration too, and they're weird because they're always my favorite when like mixed up and such. They're just kind of longer and different mixes. They're not necessarily like pumped up like a lot of them are to be dance
yeah,
remixes necessarily. They're just extended mixes, and maybe that's kind of common knowledge with the wording there. It's an extended mix more than whatever, but at the same time it's cool. A lot of times I don't necessarily put those on instead of the other one, but it's just kind of like if you really want the longer experience of it, then cool. It's just that song, but a little longer, and the parts are accented more. And even like the love song one and stuff, it'll just like play just the bass line a little longer or something. So you kind of get like a fuller taste of each little part, and he really does do a good job with those as far as the singles and stuff.
yeah,
And I guess while we're on remixes, it's a weird batch for the Wish ones. They're kind of like the lost remixes too because they weren't on Mixed Up and they weren't on Join the Dots, so they're kind of like these, like even the Letter to Elise one's pretty cool. It's a cool longer mix, and Friday I'm in Love even, but they're just,
yeah,
you would think they would have. I guess they didn't put them on the third disc of the Mixed Up reissue just because they came after. Like he was still
yeah,
keeping it everything before, but they're not going to do like a torn down volume two at this point. I mean, maybe like 30 years from now, but so I won't be around to hear it. So it's a little,
yeah,
so they're kind of these lost, and it's kind of the last one. Because by the Wild Mood Swings remixes, they just kind of get off the rails with it, and it gets kind of stupid where they're just all these super crazy alt mixes, and you don't really feel like they ever really found the mix, even just the
yeah,
actual mix for those songs,
yeah,
but these were the last batch that felt like the old kind of golden era of just extended mixes and stuff like that. So they are kind of sad that these are lost in the lost in the mix.
yeah. That's yeah. I mean, with the Friday I'm in Love one,
Uh-huh.
I always felt that uh, that was resembled more of the arrangement of the live version of the song.
Yeah, yeah, it accents those
Because
harmonies
the
and stuff.
extra guitars, that are missing,
Yeah,
which and I've just always, you know, my love of the single is never blunted. Every time I hear that song, and particularly the introduction with those
yeah.
guitars, it just sends me, gives me
Yeah,
shivers.
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
But I guess this is for some general history of High's release. It came out on March 16th, 1992, which was about a little over a month before the actual album. So it was the lead-off single, getting everybody pumped up, and something we didn't really talk about in the Wish anniversary episode that I was curious to get your opinion on and touch on too was how crazy that Wish anticipation build up. Like I said, we'll come back to your origin story, but to establish you were already a set fan by this point. Like the anticipation from Disintegration to Wish, even though it was pretty short, really, it was only really 2 years. And in Cure World, that's pretty short by today's standards.
well, it is
Um,
to today's standards,
yeah,
but
that's what
back
I
then,
mean. Like back
after
then,
what
it
had happened
it felt like
happened
forever.
before,
Yeah, and there was a lot in between it too. So it was like 89 Disintegration came out, and they pretty much ran that solid. I think like Pictures of You didn't even come out till 90, early 90 as a single, I think. So we had from like
yeah.
90 on, we had like the Entreat, we had Integration, which came out here. Anyway, it was just the CD singles were put together in a little box set. And then Mixed Up came out in 90. And we had the new single with Never Enough and Harold and Joe. So all this stuff that kind of ties us over. And then we had touched on when we were talking last about they eventually released it as Play Out, and it was a pay-per-view special, but you said it was called Stepping Out with the Cure or
Oh, I
something in
think
the
I just got
UK.
it wrong. That was
That's a,
just the
but
ravages of time,
nah, I think
and
it
the
was
cobwebs.
called that. I looked something up too, and it did have another name, or it was on a show called
Oh,
Stepping Out or
yeah,
something like
I
that.
bought the video. I actually
Okay.
bought it. I was up in London sort of one Saturday night, and I went into Tower Records, and I bought
It
the
was like a
video there,
VHS.
but
Yeah.
it's upstairs in my loft somewhere.
Yeah.
So I went upstairs and got the vinyl,
Nice.
but I've got the stuff that's
Yeah, the
packed
tapes.
away.
Yeah, mine was brutal because I taped it off of pay-per-view. It was like something you just order like on a boxing match, like pay-per-view
Oh,
was real big, around that time.
yeah,
And I remember and that even came out a good chunk of time before they released it on the official play out VHS. So like I had it and copied it for like, 5 different people, was dubbing it and all this
yeah,
over and
yeah,
making audio tapes out of the live stuff on that. So I mean it felt like years because this was just like so much anticipation of Wish coming out because we had, like we've talked about in the past on the show of like the slower versions of Cut and Wendy Time. We had Big Hand and then that unplugged Letter to Elise. So we already knew there was like 4 awesome songs. We thought Big Hand would be on the album, So at that point, it
yeah.
was like 4 solid songs on this album. So I was like already in love with Wish before it even came out, basically. And then so then the single came out for High. So it was like, I thought it was going to be one of those 4 songs, how were one of those not one of the singles, So I was
And it
like,
was a
holy crap, there's
curveball.
like a 5th grade song. We already got half the album and it's genius, So I was totally on board. But do you remember that time frame,
I
the
do,
build up
but
and
what I remember reading the excitement around Friday I'm in Love. There was,
mm,
the rumor, the people had obviously heard it and said it
oh
was
wow,
just going to be um, a classic. And it was
okay,
funny that I remember reading of the promise and the expectation of that and not being disappointed.
yeah, yeah. These days you would think
And
everything would be like it's such a letdown when you finally hear it, But it's
yeah, yeah.
like,
But I was, that was the first album that I had, you know, I was ready for was Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me,
yeah. So you had to
and
kind
so
of
then I'd had this
practice.
integration, and there was this, and yeah, I was always excited when there was something coming up. But
Yeah,
I just remember this, that I don't know what it was. It was the way that Friday I'm in Love was written about, that it was just this piece of absolute perfect pop, and I
wow,
thought, oh, just like Heaven, and there's so many
yeah,
great. How can this sort of equal or top that? And
right.
I wasn't disappointed. And that's the thing I remember, just the anticipation of hearing this piece of mythical,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, all of it I think was
pop
just this.
before I'd ever heard it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, it's just like you couldn't breathe. I remember just being so like, "Oh, when's this album gonna come out?" And
yeah,
and
exactly.
and
Yeah,
finally, yeah, just keep getting those little pieces and High being another one of those where it was just, so out of the blue. I think my earliest memory of it was that the video is what I heard first and it debuted on it was this weird like after school kind of countdown thing. MTV started around that time called Hanging with MTV. I
all
don't know
right.
if it
Yeah,
was the same in England there, but it was just like where they'd have like a live studio audience and they do like kind of the daily countdown. I think it probably turned into like that Carson Daly crap or whatever in the 2000s where they did the whatever countdown and it got ridiculous. But so it was Hanging with MTV and they were like, we got a premiere because usually you'd have to wait till the alternative show 120 minutes or whatever at night to hear the new Cure one or anything. But they were like, Choo Choo did the whole like world premiere, and I was like running across the room hitting record, and I just sat there and I was just like, what? This isn't one of those 4 songs. This song rules. It's so dreamy. They look rad. It was like Instant Love, of course,
yeah,
and that too. Have a distinct memory of taking my old like boombox and recording because I didn't have it hooked to the stereo or anything. So I just held it up to the TV to record to get an audio tape of
yeah.
the live sound
Oh,
of
yeah.
the.
I
so,
used to do that.
so like my brothers would be walking around in the background and stuff. You hear like the dogs barking or something, probably, But
Yeah.
but um, but yeah, it was like just getting that perfect tape of that until the single would come out and. Yeah, so I remember doing that for High and Hanging with MTV. There was a funny thing later when they kick off the tour when they're actually on Hanging with MTV too, and they interview them, and there's like 2 contest winners and stuff like that, and it's really awkward, but also one of my favorite like little Robert Smith interviews and stuff. Where the
And also
band, the house
before,
band, is playing like this funky version of "Let's Go to Bed." I think it was like, he's like, "Oh, that's really good." He's just like, like, he's not serious, but
but before YouTube and all that, though, getting those interviews, you only had really
Yeah.
one opportunity to
Yeah.
see them when they came on, and it was like
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, if you
that
missed
was
that
it.
one, then you weren't gonna see it again ever, bro. So, so, so yeah, it was pretty amazing. So, yeah. So that first reaction, then, do you feel like you kind of felt like the new single held up and stuff? Because it was a weird, as far as the anticipation of like not just new Cure even was huge for every fan, but like where they were at with their career and stuff as far as like had just broken into the mainstream, especially over here anyway, where like they weren't getting played on any radio until Love Song, and then all of a sudden like people would acknowledge them and stuff here. So this was like kind of a huge what's the next step kind of thing. Are they going to be able to continue it? Because I was always a little let down that they put out Love Song and it was a huge pop chart hit here, and then Pictures of You, but Pictures of You didn't do that great. Like it got a little bit of airplay and stuff, but I was like, how is that not like a bigger hit than Love Song?
Yeah,
But at the
there's
same
so
time,
many things are
so I kind of wondered if they were just going to fizzle out and
ahead.
never be heard of and sent back to alternative corner of the radio or what, or they could totally break it, and they would prove to do that with Friday I'm in Love, but High kind of, did well, but didn't like blow up the radio charts or anything. So
Yeah, it was just warming you up.
yeah, exactly. They can't come out blazing with Friday I'm in Love, which would have been an alternate universe. Would have been funny because they might have, done better. But
Yeah,
at the same time, you can never really do that with your big pop single. So yeah, so you remember it kind of holding up?
but it's been I was aware of them, that they were getting success in the States and being better known,
Yeah,
better appreciated. And I don't remember being. I always just took it for granted that they would. I felt that something happened with their sound from Head on the Door,
yeah,
and I loved so much before that. But something about Head on the Door just showed. I think that there was whether it was because Boris joined and Paul was back full time, and there was
yeah,
a broadening in the sound, and he was maturing as a songwriter. That it just I never really doubted that they were going to be
yeah,
absolutely huge, and they were big in other countries. They were big in South America
yeah,
and in Europe, and then the following year, you had Staying on a Beach was issued, and then they recorded Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, which is one of my favorites.
yeah.
Um, it's
Yeah, they
just
definitely just cracked
incredible.
the code by that, like you're saying, it Head on the Door. It's just like he managed to wrangle it all together. It was like, yeah, it really did seem like he learned the whole process up until that, because
Yeah,
you have like Head on the Door that has darkness from those early albums with like Sinking, and even Kyoto Song and stuff touches on stuff that could have been, if you recorded it slightly different, you could make it like a Faith type song or something.
yeah,
But and then he got all the pop stuff out with those singles, Love Cats and Let's Go to Bed. He's like, well, if we merge the two together, then you have like this amazing band that's like poppy but sad. It's like how the hell do you do that? It was just like from that point on, it was like, boom, take it to the bank. You got it now.
Well, it's funny actually because we were, listening to when you were talking with Dave Allen about what didn't get on the album, how good Exploding Boy was, how good A Man Inside My Mouth was, which I
Yeah,
loved. They just created a balance. Those 10 songs, you said it's just a right,
yeah,
and just the way they blended it all. The other thing was that Dave was talking about how he was trying to get a different drum sound, and Boris was like, "Great, but next time,
yeah.
can we sort of make
Just
it a bit simpler?" And then it didn't really, the penny dropped for me that in fact that he said for Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me with Boris, you had like an echoey room and then a drier room,
yeah,
and that's a constant threat. The drums are more cohesive, but I
yeah,
love the way the drums are different on Head on the Door because you've got fewer songs,
right.
and that helps broaden it out.
Yeah, makes total sense.
I know
Yeah.
I'm sort of going off track a little bit, but
Nah, that's that's what we do
you
around
know,
here.
yeah,
That's awesome.
um,
I like the idea what you're saying, how they were on breaking big on different levels in different countries and stuff. And I guess just as far as touching on highness of
Yeah.
how it did, have some good chart success. It was their highest, I think, maybe still charting single in Australia. It reached number 5 and number 4 in New Zealand. Portugal, it reached number 2, so it was on
Oh
their big,
wow.
yeah. Only 42 here in the U.S. on the Hot 100 Billboard charts, which is
Yeah.
the constant struggle with the Cure over here. It's like 42,
Yeah.
but that's still technically good, I guess. Top 50 hit, I don't know. But then, yeah, around 92, they started getting really weird, and that's why it's still a little odd when people ask what is the Cure's biggest hit, because they started making all these like alternative charts and stuff. They started breaking up the Billboard around 90 into all these weird subcategories. Like when Love Song came out, it was just straight up like pop top 100 whatever, and it
Yeah.
made it to number 2 on that. Friday I'm in Love, I think, came it to number 2 too, but like High was number 1 on this alternative chart. And I remember like you'd flip to the back of Rolling Stone or Spin, they would have the charts there. And
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
around that time they started breaking it up into like alternative band with coolest hair. It just started turning into all these like Oscar subcategory things where everybody wins by the end. I was just like, well, what the hell's the number 1 song in the country? I don't know, but so yeah, it's a little. But so High made it to number 1 on the alternative chart, but only 42 on the actual Billboard chart. So and I think Friday I'm in Love
It's
made
funny.
it to number 2 as well
Oh,
on
yeah.
all the charts or whatever. So I think
Yeah.
that's still kind of tied with Love Song over here. UK, it made it to number 8, which is pretty awesome still. And
Yeah. That's
oh,
right. Yeah. I mean, they with I know Robert Smith used to say that the charts never used to
yeah,
really sort of bother him a great deal, and I know that. Um, and this is coming from a band that released "Hanging Garden" as a
yeah,
single.
exactly. I think he can't let
um,
it bother him too much, or he would go crazy. But
yeah,
at the same time, it's a
and there's something about the music and the way that when you're in, you're in.
yeah,
That they knew
yeah,
or maybe understood their fan base and also the potential.
yeah.
But that's not to say that I wasn't willing them on
Yeah, I think we're all
to go above a load of stuff that I just thought was
yeah, we touched
shite,
on a bit with the
know.
anniversary one where it was like, yeah, because it debuted, the whole album debuted at number 2 here under Def Leppard. And we were all just like, what? And even
That's
that
right.
interview, he's all like, ah, fuck Def Leppard and stuff. You can tell he cares a little bit, or he would have liked to have a number 1, who wouldn't, but at the same time, yeah, you can't let it get to you too bad.
Yeah,
Like we touched on, the B-sides are also really huge for all the Wish singles, really. But this one in particular, Play, is a really cool kind of
yeah.
underrated song. I,
Such a big sound as well. It's such a
yeah, I always love the
yeah,
drums on that one.
fantastic.
I got a little
Yeah.
sampler early on, and I always trim just that first little drum intro and loop that and try to write songs over just never worked out, but it was good.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
Boris is yeah. No, I mean, so I'm not nothing against Jason at all, but
yeah,
Boris is how inventive he is. Was on those
all of them.
songs, and I just love listening to his drumming. And
Yeah, it's amazing.
that's
But back to High, I guess, as far as a consistent great song too, and yeah, as far as them playing that live, it's one that hasn't. It's been consistent in their set list for sure throughout the years, but also it doesn't vary too much. It's funny rewatching some live clips of it of around 92 for the Wish tour. It was definitely that bass 6 is real key where Perry would play it. Robert would kind of just play it when he's not singing on the little in between parts, and Pearl still just doing that really beautiful kind of picking guitar part there on there. And
yeah,
it's yeah, just a cool song. And then I guess since bumping back to the 2 guitarists, Robert pretty much handles all the bass 6 stuff on there.
yeah.
But yeah, it's just a
It's quite
cool.
crystalline in its own way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a
There
really.
are certain songs that maybe just where I don't know. It's just one of those songs that God, it's almost like saying that they're going through the motions, and I don't mean that at all. But it's just so, you know,
it is a
There's
weird.
no need to maybe mess with it
Yeah,
because
yeah. It is like an oddly like perfect Cure song that blends like the atmosphere the Cure always has with poppiness, but it's not like a Mint Car, Friday I'm in Love poppy Cure. You know, it doesn't go overboard with the
absolutely, yeah,
poppy, and it's not
yeah,
like as full on dreamy as like a lot of the ones on like To Wish Impossible Things or something. You know,
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
that. You know,
yeah.
but at the same time, yeah, it has like a perfect blend of that, and is somehow very perfectly Cure-ish, you know, in like a defining way, you know, or you hear that,
It really is, and a
it's
lot of the imagery that it's the lyrics are um, familiar yet beautifully they're
yeah, yeah, they're
revisited.
just weird
Uh,
enough where it's just
you just
or it's not gonna be that's what kept it out of the top 5 for the US top charts, I'm sure. It's just like sticky as lips and whatever. I think
yeah,
like
yeah, look at
yeah, I feel like
it.
one episode we got into this whole like rabbit hole of like this is a really dirty song. Like if you take it as like a very sexual thing, you know, or something. I was like convinced, but then I was like, nah, it's just a nice love song. And I guess it's a good point to note that as on the Cure News websites there that they put up the old like fan club. It's curenews.net with Chris White on there, and he would go through back in the day. Robert would answer all the quick meanings of each song, and simply for high, all he has is it's a song about happiness. So there it
Oh, look,
is.
yeah.
The big answer from
There you
Robert.
go.
And he said something completely different probably a month
Different. I'm sure. I
later.
was just going to say he'll come out and say something completely different in another
Yeah,
interview.
but happiness is what that one's all about. And yeah, I guess it makes sense. It is just like a good happy love song you can throw in around fourth in the set usually is good and just keeps everybody rolling and feeling good. But yeah, I think that bass six part for anybody out there that's still a little unclear what the hell the bass six is and its part in the Cure, it is an odd one because you can always just assume it's all over like Faith and stuff and those darker songs. So it's like, nah, it's a great weird instrument that you can just
I
kind
have
of
utilised that about.
yeah,
I can't say as good or better than anyone, but
yeah. It's
surely
so
a
weird
few
that
bands have actually used it to such great effect.
yeah,
So
it's
many they've really right across the spectrum of feelings and emotions.
yeah.
They've managed to utilise it, and it's incredible.
Yeah, it's just like a thicker way of playing like a lead part without it being guitar solo-y, you know, and I think that's like a great way to put it in the sense that like because they don't want to have like the big solo parts and stuff. So it just sounds like this almost like just like a cool like New Ordery bass line, but they do it even more than like New Order does, you know. So it's just
Yeah.
like where Peter Hook will kind of have like a melodic bass line, he just plays real high up, but this is like just a lead guitar that's a bassier lead guitar, you know. It's
That's right.
really
Yeah, I
uh,
need to get myself one. I've got a
yeah,
baritone
you would
guitar,
be able to do some
and I
really cool
need to get
stuff, I
myself. Yeah,
think. Yeah, it's just it's odd because there are so many like really awesome guitarists that I talk to, and they don't even know like the enigma of the bass six kind of thing. Where you know a lot of people are just like, "What? So is it a bass? Is it a guitar?" And I'm like, "It's everything, man." But I feel like if you are a little unclear, just watch a live version with the Cure and see where they utilize it and stuff. It is pretty
well,
cool.
it's
Just
funny. I didn't realise for a long time, and well, I'm pretty sure that Pearl played that. The Cure in Iran. She was playing
yeah. Yeah, they would
the,
rotate it
the,
and stuff, and
the
then Perry
oh
had like a
yeah,
left-handed one even, so they're definitely out there and passing it around. Even the picture
yeah.
on the in orange is the bass six
He
there.
he was
It's
playing it on primary for sure, wasn't he,
yeah,
Pearl?
yeah. Primary is
Yeah.
like a staple one. In between days actually has it on there where it's that slides up real
Oh
high and
right.
goes that little ding 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 part where it goes through
Oh
the whole
okay.
thing. It's just like a
Yeah.
really high little riff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean they're all over like Disintegration in particular. They use it all over that too. And that's
Yeah.
kind of why I think a lot of times I haven't done the full nerd statistic check on it, but a lot of times they'll play high right after Pictures of You because he plays it on Pictures of You and then he doesn't
Oh,
have to change it. So it's
he
like
does
a
have
lot
to
of time.
change it. Yeah.
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 So it's kind of
Yeah.
a cool poppy out and he can keep the same guitar on, you know, it's all about comfort for Robert. You know?
Yeah. He wants to move as little as possible in
Yeah.
tight and slippers.
Totally. So, but yeah,
So
it's a good one.
it's been great to go back and listen to it again. great to go back and listen to the higher mix. And so
Yeah.
it's just reminded me what a fantastic song it is.
It
Not that I
is.
didn't think it was, but it's been lovely to do it. And as I said, anyone out there who's just not heard it for a while, go and listen to the higher mix. It's
Throw
just
it on.
opening up for you.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
and realize how much is in there without, they don't shove it down your throat and say, look how clever we are. It's just
Yeah.
everything as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But when you listen to the 12-inch, you go, blimey. You bastards, that's so clever.
Yeah, and it was funny when we threw it out to listeners to get contributions and thoughts on high too. The remixes and stuff got a lot of love. The higher mix and just the B-sides in general were something that was a common thread in most people's comments. So we got a few that are a little bit longer email kind of style, and a few just the Instagram comments. I'll read to you guys real quick. Let's see, where was the one that said, Matt Black says, I always preferred the single mix to the album version because of the cool keyboard arpeggio in the background, that little I think is what you're referring to. That's really either super buried on the album version or not even in there at all. I didn't really full on dig in with my ears, but it's like crazy the difference between just the regular single version and then it's in the longer extended higher mix too. But but
it's such a bright because it's got that it's I don't know, got a sort of slightly almost sinister edge to it. To actually put it in there to change the sound a bit in a slight way. To just sort of try and
it really does bring it up more, and I almost wondered too with Mark Saunders. I started looking into some of that, but he was kind of I don't know, notorious for it or what, but it kind of hit me a surprise when I'd read things about him that he actually played a few little parts when he'd be remixing stuff, like some of the Disintegration mixes, like a few little extra keyboard parts or something. He just would get into doing the radio edit or something, and be like, is it cool if I? And he kind of cited like being worried at various times, like, asking Robert, hey, is it cool? I just added like a whole other part, I was like, whoa, dude, what the hell? Yeah, I'd be worried too. But at the same time, Robert's like, yeah, it's cool, and so I wonder if that's even something he put in there,
That'd be interesting to know.
That might be speculating a bit too much, but at the same time, I wonder, because it's only on the single one and the extended, I think, unless it's like really buried in the mix. There's so much shit going around in there on everything on Wish, where there's so many little floating things in and out. You don't really know what's buried in the mix.
Absolutely.
But so yeah, Matt totally agreed there. We had another one, trying to not just go in order because where was Brian, who's absolute_YYZ, these are all their Instagram handles, said that the high remix is so great, he wishes that it was on the Join the Dots. So yeah, here we just wanted to shout out the higher mix too, because it is weird that they left those off of, because the other ones are they on there? Yeah, there's extended mixes and stuff on Join the Dots, right? Yeah, it is odd that they just left those out.
But the Why Can't I Be You one isn't on there either.
Yeah, that made it onto the mixed up one, right? I think that's on the bonus disc of the mixed up that eventually came out. Yeah, there's like a 3-disc CD version of Mixed Up now that has the new torn down and some extras. So I guess starting at the top of the comments list that we can blaze through real quick here, Danny, who is our newest Patreon member, by the way, so welcome, Danny. He wrote, wow, 1992 and the single for High was my first taste of new Cure music that I could buy as I went along. My sister got me into them in 1990 when I was 14 and listening to their back catalog. And then Wish came along and Will Always Be Special in the single High. I loved the video. Saw them at London Olympia that year. Is that where you saw them for the Wish tour?
I saw them 2 nights on the trot at Wembley Arena.
Okay, so Wembley.
And Cranes was supported.
Cool. We'll get into your live shows here in a
but
that's cool. Just wondering if you're at that one. He said by 16, he was 16 years old by then. Best thing I've ever heard at that live show. The song sounds like it was could have been written yesterday. It's timeless, like all their music. As high as I might, I can't get that high.
Get that high. Lovely.
Yeah, it is pretty timeless. I mean, like you said, it's a
Yeah.
very Cure song. You know, when they're just created their own little world with that, in a sense that it doesn't feel 90s, it doesn't feel 80s, doesn't feel.
And
It's kind
it's
of just
just, yeah, it's, sometimes and it's good to hear that from younger fans as well, because you think, well, have I known it so much,
yeah,
and you put it against and you think, well, it hasn't aged, and it still sounds amazing.
yeah,
But they just so much of it um, feels that way to me, and even the stuff which is, more sparse and stripped back, I still think sounds amazing.
yeah.
But they've definitely has have been one of those bands where so much of the music has just stayed. It's it just feels so fresh.
For sure. Yeah, it's
And
crazy.
a part of the reason I think is because, you know, apart from the songs being so great, is that Robert's voice is
Yeah,
unique
just
in a way. There's a few people where I go, oh, it sounds a bit like Robert, but as soon as you hear his voice, it's just
yeah, like any of those like collaborations or something, it just totally becomes Robert taking over at that point.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's like sweet. We have Wayne who goes by Tobe Man on Instagram. um, I have that design on a pin, very rare. So I think he's referring to the cover, I have that pin
Oh,
too, actually. There you go, holding it up. So yeah, your opinion. I always call it like a bird thing. What do you see when
I
you look at
thought
that?
now those the psychiatrists give pictures to
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
It's
like the
like
ink
two
blot.
side. I forget the actual technical name for them.
Yeah,
So I always thought it was like a squid,
yeah.
and now
Okay.
someone's going to say, actually, I think you should see a doctor
Yeah,
now.
right. Yeah, I always just call it the bird thing, and like
But yeah, if you
people.
look at that, that does look like a bird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or like a
and then
rooster almost. It has like a rooster head too. That I see, like if it's
yeah,
his beak coming out, and the
yeah.
red part on the top of the rooster.
Now you say it, it makes sense,
Yeah,
but maybe you can edit out the squid thing.
yeah.
Uh,
No, squid is kind
but
of cool too.
but it's just got that Spider-Man like red and blue. I just love the
Yeah, yeah. It's a very
colours are so
cool.
sort of, and that off, it's a sort of Friday I'm in love.
Yeah, all the artwork goes great together.
Oh, it's
And
gorgeous,
it's
isn't it? It's beautiful.
really some of the
Um,
best for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I had a little metal like necklace they were selling out of the backs of like magazines around that era too. It was like this really kind of, I've seen a few people post it on things, and they go like crazy expensive now if you try to buy it. But it was like this really thin little just like metal outline of that bird or whatever the hell it is, but it was so kind of cheap that mine broke really early, and
Yeah.
but yeah, I always
But I
loved
definitely
that
like
as
one of
a.
those. I
Oh
the same
yeah,
here. I love the design. I love the
cool.
um, colours and everything.
Yeah, I got a little
They
pin
really
for my
pop.
guitar strap where I put it on my bass six there, so I can be the ultimate
Ah, I
nerd.
think I saw a picture of that. I
Yeah,
think you
yeah,
got it on Instagram.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I
yeah,
posted it. So
yeah.
that was just a little
That's really
Etsy
cool.
thing, I think. But
Yeah.
yeah, cool. Then we got another Tobe. We got Tobeson, who also goes by TSC. So not sure what any of that means, but thanks for writing it. Great choice for the first Wish single. Maybe best B-sides doubled with Twilight Garden and Play. So yeah, I think it is a good choice for the first single. Like we were touching on, you don't want to come out blazing with Friday I'm in Love. Plus, everybody would like think that they've just totally gone pop crazy or something with their taste of success. So I think it was good to reestablish that they're still the Cure, and then ease them into the pop glory of Friday I'm in Love.
Yeah, and as a you know with this with the 12-inch with the mix, and you say with this Twilight Garden and Play, it's a really lovely
Yeah, just
trio of
really
songs.
totally, yeah,
It's a great start.
totally. And then we got Mara from Dramera Queen. Nothing super profound to say, but this has always been one of my favorites as far as their singles go. So kind of fits with what we're
Cool.
saying. Just a
Yeah,
solid,
absolutely.
awesome Cure song. And another quickie from Oscar. Oscar writes, killer B-sides on the single. Play stands out for the story it tells and is just heartbreaking. So yeah, it is kind of a sad one without being over dramatic too, but it is a cool
And
underrated.
again, it's nice to hear, you know, the B sides
Get so much
have
love.
always been a strength of the Cure. You
Yeah.
know, uh,
Yeah, I think that
just
even continues through Wild Mood Swings, I'd say, has good B-sides, some arguably better. I don't think they really start to fall off till about the self-titled album, maybe. But and I guess Bloodflowers didn't really have any B-sides, just stuff that got left off the album.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think they always, I always wonder how much of it was a conscious effort to save a few cool ones for that, or if it was all just like not feeling like they totally fit on the album for this reason or that, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it might be a mixture of the two.
yeah,
You know, particularly in the 80s where, you know, there was so much material
yeah.
and it was, you know, I'm sure they thought hard, but, you know, there was, you know, you look at, I've got the, you know, the tape here, that the very first Cure thing I actually spent money on. And you look at the B sides, and it's just like fantastic. And it must have been a flip of a coin why they weren't,
Yeah.
you know, included on the album. But um, we've still got them, and it doesn't matter where they are.
Yeah, exactly. These days, yeah, we've done our revisionist albums, or I was like, yeah, just put it on a playlist. You can play those right after.
Well, yeah,
It's all good.
it does. You know, if you say the old thing, well, if someone put a gun to my head, and
yeah,
you know, you had to, you know, it's a nice
choose.
notional thing. You know, what would you drop to put something in?
Yeah, it's fun to imagine that, and especially like you're saying through that era too, they're just cranking out so much stuff, like the idea of all those great B-sides on Kiss Me, and it's like, well, clearly you couldn't put them all on there. Although I've argued that, I think it's like just making a triple album at that point. Half those songs are better
That's
than some of the other ones, so like, why
yeah. We
not?
managed to get it down to a double album. You know,
Yeah.
that's it. No more.
it's like
Yeah.
it's like why stop there? Just put them all on there. I'm always a more is more anyway. So
Yeah.
okay, and then a couple longer ones here to read the of actual emails I received. The first one's from Sam, which actually turned out to be this cool. I didn't realize was former bandmates of Kate, who's been on the show. So he played bass in Kate's band way back in the day, and it turned
Oh
out,
right.
and Sam had written earlier for our Cure Encounters episode, which was 127, and he had written a story about talking to Robert through a fence and stuff, and turned out this was the same encounter that Kate was there for in her origin story. So there's some weird crossover there. So that was
Yeah.
episode 162. So we're getting into some comic book shit here now, where you gotta do cross reference.
Cross
So
references.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was good to hear from Sam again, and he said, just wanted to share my memories of High. I was in 12th grade, so a senior in high school, hanging out with a small group in the basement at a friend's house on like a Friday or Saturday night. MTV was on in the background as people were chatting and snacking or whatever. Suddenly, the High video came on, and I was just floored by it. I had gotten Disintegration soon after it was released, and had spent the last couple years gobbling up all of Head on the Door, Standing on Beach, Kiss Me, In Orange, and various books and articles, yet I had no idea that this was coming out. I remember thinking how different it was to see the band in such a sunny setting, like they'd somehow found their way out of the cave or the bedroom or the foggy streets in the Disintegration videos, and the sideshow of Never Enough. So you like that they're on
Yeah.
that boat
Well, it's
and it
funny.
was
You
on
look back at
blasted.
Love Song, you know, and then
Yeah,
you think of the High video where it's just everything is so,
blown out.
you know,
And
bathed in sunshine,
yeah,
and they're running in and out of each other on this
yeah,
platform.
it's kind of
Um,
a cool one that's grown on me a lot more over the years too. Where it does
Absolutely. And I
does
saw a making of video, a short one,
yeah, that's
the
so
other
cool.
day, and Tim Pope was holding the little model Robert. You know,
Yeah,
it's like a few inches high on the kite, which appears, doesn't it, for a
yeah.
few
And
seconds.
they did strap him onto one at one point for a shot, and I remember Robert
Yeah,
being
they
really
like
pissed about that.
crucified
And
him on a kite, and he was
yeah,
just
he was definitely, I don't know how much weight it really had, but it seemed to really kind of hit that end of the road for Tim Pope for a little bit there. I guess he recovered with the Friday with Love video. Everybody loved that one because they're all just getting drunk in the room there. But at the same time, he didn't work with him after that for a good chunk of time. He's just like, I don't think it's funny anymore. He just wants to make me uncomfortable and put me up high, and I get vertigo. And I was like, damn, dude.
Well, one of my favourite comments that Robert made about, Robert say, like, so, give me sort of rough idea of what's going to happen, because he anticipated being made to feel incredibly uncomfortable. So, don't worry, so there's a bed in it. And then he said it turned out to be like a bed of nails. So, it just, I was always he was always quite nervous about.
Yeah, I didn't know where you're going to go. Sam had one last comment on High too, which fits with what we were saying. Robert showed up on a kite with those floppy Muppet legs, which is very true when you watch it back. His legs are just kind of dangling.
Yeah, they do, yeah. But it's just those massive
shoes at the bottom there.
Yeah. But, I don't know were they actually, because he had the I think they were the high tops.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were designer. I know there's a guy called Rick Owens that designs these Geo basket high tops, and they're huge. And I don't know if they were designer at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like they had like an extended tongue on it or something. It was like, no way, no normal shoe had I tried to find them everywhere. I had these old Nikes with the big ass tongue. I would always wear them slopping around high school. But
and Robert's ever so slightly pigeon-toed, so he kind of dragged these massive shoes around with him. But
I like that though. It's always weird when you see Muppets' legs, and that's definitely what it looked like, just dangling.
I definitely do. Great observation.
He said, "I really liked the song right away too. It felt much more like the band than Never Enough did. That seemed kind of like they had somehow grafted a Cure song over some jangly guitar music. It sounded familiar and also new." And it made me so excited for the upcoming album. So, like we said, again, perfectly Cure. And he did have a quick side story here that I wanted to include, too. A couple sentences on this. In the pornography episode that just came out, I had mentioned times that the Cure's gotten you in trouble, and I let it off with wearing a pornography t-shirt at a kid event or whatever, but he picked up on that, and he said that yes, since you mentioned the topic of times Cure's got you in trouble, in late 2009 my wife and I had moved to Abu Dhabi in United Arab Emirates there, and about a month later I was driving through downtown in my rental car, so stoked to have just picked up whatever device I was using to run music through my iPod into the car stereo. It was a beautiful day. I had the windows down and was blasting the tunes on shuffle. Suddenly, I heard the familiar, the slightly Middle Eastern flavored guitar intro to a certain Cure song, and I practically dove across the car to hit the volume before it started blasting. He said, yep, of all the Cure songs on my whole damn iPod, the shuffle chose that moment to play Killing an Arab as I drove through the streets. Thankfully, there was a decent amount of time before it got to the chorus, and I was able to turn it down and not attract any unwanted attention. So glad he made it out of that all in one piece. You don't want to be blasting that there. So yes, since that'll probably never be a full episode, I've had to include that too. So, anytime the Cure gotten you in trouble, Mike?
That's a good point, actually. It was probably trouble indoors. Me and my mate Peter used to make his homebrew, and so we'd have so many pints before we went out, and occasionally we used to play a song like 30 times and get steadily more drunk. And on one occasion we played Short Term Effect, and he was living in Camden at the time, and his landlord just kept telling us to turn it down. And then every time he'd left the room, it's like, oh, piss off, and just cranked it up. But apart from that, I don't even know if that's getting in trouble, but no, not really. No, not that I can think of.
Turn it down. Yeah, there you go. That counts.
It's a Friday night, and he's like, he wants to listen to a Schubert string quartet, and then we're playing Short Term Effect about 30 times on the trot.
Good one. good one to get him riled up with.
Yeah.
And we got one last one from Jonah in Arizona. And Jonah's awesome. I've been corresponding with him back a couple of years back now. I feel like we had talked a bit and then hadn't heard from him in a while. So I got a real nice email to hear that he's doing well and still kicking out there. And he
Yeah.
definitely wanted to jump on the idea of said that in some thoughts on high. So I just got this yesterday, which is perfect timing. So he says, I found The Cure via hearing Fascination Street on the radio while Disintegration was still being promoted. By the time Wish was ramped up, I was absolutely a die-hard fan and had spent a couple of years only buying Cure tapes with every cent I earned. A little about my background. My father was a pastor and didn't allow us to listen to anything but Christian music. He even once took away my Christian rock tape my brother had bought when he had heard that the music was too heavy. So my Cure tape collection was my most prized possession, and I hid the tapes and was careful about where I listened to them and who I discussed the music with. And when alternative music blew up into the mainstream, it became harder and harder to hide my love of the music. When High was released, I finally felt vindicated that The Cure was being recognized in the mainstream and that High was getting heavy airplay on MTV. I would get up before school and try to catch it and switch back over to MTV after my parents went to bed and stayed up late hoping to catch the video one more time. The song itself seemed to be a blend of poppier side of Cure music while maintaining the dreamy quality and layered guitars of Disintegration. So the song and timing was perfect where I was at in life. When Wish was released, I had an older friend take me to Sam Goody and buy it, and I don't think I listened to anything else for months. Over the next year, I bought every Cure shirt I could get with the goal of having one to wear every day of the school week, which I achieved. I had that same goal, strangely, that stretched into every month. And now I think with Chaz's help, I can wear one an entire year. But and used his Christmas money for that. What's funny is I finally had a moment where I told my dad The Cure was my favorite band and to please not take my tapes away. It actually helped that I could describe The Cure as an alternative band and not rock band because rock was evil to Christian groups at the time.
Wow.
High was probably the first song I played as an example when he wanted to hear what they sounded like. The fact that it was an uplifting, happy song helped my dad, and I come to an agreement about keeping my tapes in secular music. In fact, The Cure is probably my dad's favorite non-Christian rock band now, or alternative band,
Wow.
and and High being used as the intro to a talk radio show that he listened to definitely helped. So I guess he's
God,
converting his dad at
great
this point.
story.
Yeah. Eventually, Dad became a huge supporter of our music and bought me and my brother our first guitars and amps, and became supporters of the music that we wrote and played in the future. He still likes Just Like Heaven better, often calling it Almost Heaven, and he still requests it every time there's a guitar present. But High was the song that convinced my dad that The Cure was music that he would let us listen to, although make sure I skipped Wendy Time anytime we were playing the album because of the infamous F word that is dropped in there. High will always be one of my most important Cure songs to me because of these things. I also feel it represents the pinnacle of Cure guitar work. I play that riff almost every time I pick up a guitar, and the solo was one of the first I ever learned. Unfortunately, the layers of guitar melodies moving in and out of each other is one of the things I feel is missing from a lot of later Cure albums since Wish.
Yeah.
True. Every
Yes.
guitar-based song The Cure has written up to that point seemed to have this main riff that you could strip the whole song down to and it still be the same song.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unfortunate that Friday I'm in Love overshadows High because it doesn't get the attention it deserves as a standalone song because of the timing of the release, where I was in life, how it affected my relationship with my dad, and the excitement of being there for the premiere probably makes it my favorite Cure single and favorite video. It was the first time I got to be a part of a Cure release. So thank you, Jonah.
Yeah, that is
So
fantastic. That just
yeah,
sounds like
wow,
a
that's
script for a film in
I
there.
know, right? You can make a whole
That's
movie out
really
of
moving.
Hi, the movie. Yeah, just like I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, he ended up converting his father to be a Cure fan.
Yeah.
So yeah, it started off as such a like, oh, how dare he ban your tapes? But by the end, they're both sharing in the experience. So,
Now his dad's like back combing his hair,
yeah, yeah.
lipstick, eyeliner.
So yeah, goodness sake.
No, but that's a lovely story. That's
Yeah, I
really
really dug
great.
that. And thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got one last bit from our buddy Arusha too, which was more of a comment, something she was going through that coincided with High. She said, "I wasted hours of my life just reconstituting the Cure Wish EP pack, those electronic press kits, you know."
Yeah.
Uh, she's uploading it to YouTube, and apparently it was getting blocked because for whatever the hell reason, YouTube has those little algorithms that certain things they hear they won't. And High was triggering it. So it was driving her crazy. She was trying to re-edit and upload this thing that she had preserved all these years, and it was getting blocked every time. So she says, "I guess it's the video too, or it's not just the song. I guess it's the video too." But Robert speaks over it in part of it where they're doing like little interviews, so she couldn't just cut
Yeah.
it out altogether. She said, "I had to put captions all over it, and now I'm going to try throwing on some fan footage that intercut it and chop it up and stuff." And so yeah, it's really cool. I'm happy to say she did pull it off, and it is up on her YouTube page at Cure Fan Doc. So definitely everybody go check that out because it is like a cool little promo thing where they're doing questions and interviews with them, and then they intersplice it with the videos from that
Yeah.
era.
Yeah.
And for the high video part, Arusha put like she overlapped like images from the Wish tour book. You know, I don't know if you've seen
Yeah.
those where it's all the images are there kind of cutting through, and she tweaks it enough where I think she was able to avoid the robots and win. So I feel like it's a small victory for everybody
Victory.
that's tried to upload something to YouTube Cure related, because there's so many cool little things like that. Even like that hanging with MTV thing, I think it's been up there and then removed a bunch of times because it's flagged by MTV as part of one of their shows, so they don't want you putting
Yeah.
that up. I've uploaded like live performances like on Conan O'Brien or one of the late night talk shows or something that get like taken down all the time if you
That's
put
just saying.
NBC in the title or something, you know.
Yeah.
So really annoying, but I'm glad she was able to stick with it. And, you know, she said that it looked crazy because of the edits she had to make. She was afraid people would think that she was like on LSD trying to edit this thing or something. But at the same time, it's just what she had to do to make it work. But she
Yeah.
put it in and it's up there. So that's pretty rad. And
Cool.
so I'm wondering, yeah, this episode, I usually like to sprinkle in parts of the song. So I don't know if it's going to get flagged if I use any high sound bites now. So
Ah,
maybe I'll have
that's
to go with
interesting.
live versions or something. So I'll
Yeah.
find some YouTubers that are just covering it and put like really terrible versions throughout this
Yeah.
episode. But so yes, thank you so much all our contributions as we shift gears. I want to talk a little bit more as we still got you on here of your origin tale there. If I'm not keeping you too long, are you
No,
good?
not at all.
Cool.
When I finished school, I guess, graduating from high school for
Uh-huh.
you, 18 years old, we did our A levels. And my mate Pete and I, we bought a ticket. It was called an Interrail ticket, and you could go around Europe by train. What you paid would cover your costs for train travel.
Yeah.
And so we had mixtapes, and one of the tapes was Standing on a Beach.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was so into early U2.
Okay.
And I'd been playing the guitar for about, I don't know, 18 months. And I
Yeah.
used to love the way that, the edge sound. It just sounded like more than one guitarist,
Right. Yeah.
And then we went during this month away. We just went all over the place. And so the last week we just said, right, we're going to stop in one place. And we went to Barcelona and then stayed at a place called El Masnou, which is just along the train line from that. It was a beautiful beach there. We just sort of drinking beers, listening to music, and that's when we played that tape a lot. And over the course of that 6 or 7 days, I was absolutely hooked.
Yeah.
And the without the B-sides, the amount of the ground they cover musically is incredible.
Yeah.
But it just got me, and so we had to be back home by the 31st of July.
Okay.
And on the 1st of July, sorry, 1st of August, I went out and I bought my tape. That was my first tape,
Awesome.
and then it went from there. And I really was hooked.
Yeah.
I just loved
And you said
just
you were
from
familiar with them before that, but just never really on your full
yeah. I mean,
radar?
I'd say the bit for me, watching them on Top of the Pops, which is a sort of music show,
Yeah.
on BBC. I remember Love Cats and the Caterpillar,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
there were a lot of people wearing makeup. You had the new Romantics, and you had the sort of the likes of Boy George,
Hmm.
but nobody quite looked like Robert, as I
Yeah.
remember, particularly in the Caterpillar video. So I like the music, but it was just it just didn't sort of, I don't know why it didn't grab me, but something did click
Yeah.
during that holiday, or at the end of that holiday,
And it must
and
have been something similar with myself with that tape. And I think a lot of people, just because it is such a perfect compilation, that it's like, it just totally goes from one song to the next, where you're just like, wow, okay, that first song's cool, the next one's cool. And then it just kept bleeding like slowly down the tape, where you're just like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Wow, this gets better and better, like it just really does pile
I think it
on, I
is
think,
You say perfect. I
Yeah.
think it is.
Yeah. It's such a
It's
cool.
just, and you've got, when you look how side A's book ended, you've got Killing an Arab, which is the ultimate sparse.
Yeah.
It's just got so much, I don't know, personality. Is that the right word? It's just
Yeah.
so it's incredible when you think that you've got
Yeah.
just the drums and the bass, Robert's voice, and his scratchy guitar,
Yeah.
and the lovely sort of the solos in it. And then the other end, you've got a more sophisticated sparse arrangement in Close to Me,
Yeah.
but you've got obviously that tremendous brass,
Yeah.
the brass performances. But yeah, it covers so much ground.
For sure. And it's
Um,
just chronological. It isn't like they're working any mix magic or anything. It's just, this is
yeah,
the band to that point, all the singles, and it's like, and then flipped with the B-sides, like you're saying, it's just like this whole other, and I think that's why I was just, such a young kid when I heard it, that it like kind of was like, okay, this is more. And then the B-sides, it was just a little weirder in the beginning, maybe, but then about the middle of the B-sides, I'm like, yeah, there's more singles over here. This is great. So
yeah.
it's just like this
And I'm
whole,
sure in the midst of time, I remember him commenting about how important the B-sides were to him, to put out quality,
yeah,
give value for money, and also expound, just get ideas.
yeah,
Obviously, ideas were coming thick and fast, and
yeah.
you look through the list there, and there's so much that aren't on there either. There's no Lament.
Yeah, yeah. You'd
um,
think some of those could have, been squeezed in there because they're such great songs,
yeah, and then you've got another Journey by Train, which is a B-side to The Forest, and I was always wondered why that wasn't on the actual album.
Yeah, yeah.
you
It's
know,
such a
um,
thin album. Do you remember one song in particular that really pulled you in on that first, and then you kind of went from one to another, or was it just kind of worked your way through the whole thing?
on the
On
A sides,
Yeah,
because it was so early on. I know it's pop. I loved Boys Don't Cry.
yeah,
It was just, why didn't I know? Why was this?
right.
This has been missing from my life.
Yeah,
Primary, I had an addiction to
yeah.
for a long time. I can't believe I actually haven't got the 12-inch, but um, yeah, Primary was a big favourite of
Pretty
mine for a
rad.
long time.
Cool.
But then The Forest, Charlotte. I mean, I'm just going
Yeah,
and
then
Let's Go to
yeah,
Bed. I guess the walk took a bit longer to
yeah,
drop for me, and that is such a tremendous song. It's clever
yeah,
and and but it's such a great list of songs. And I did like Hanging Garden, and it didn't prepare me. Well, it kind of did, but not really. And
for
when I got
the
Pornography,
yeah, that's
again, that was interesting to listen to for the first time, because it was such a block of. I mean, what
it's
it's
heavy.
like, but
Yeah,
the penny did drop quite quickly. It took only about 3 weeks for me
yeah,
to go, oh yeah, I really like this. And again, about a year before, for various reasons, as my life went, the figurehead was the thing that really resonated with me for certain reasons,
Right.
and and it's a great piece of music as well. So um,
Awesome.
um,
Yeah, that's pretty. So, do you think because you heard the singles collection, would you say, I was always curious to see if like the pop or the light side grabbed people first, or like was it the moody, darker side that you kind of gravitated towards with the Cure?
oh,
Um,
it's a good question. I have to say that whilst I'd bought this, then it was ahead on the door.
yeah,
I went back to the beginning, and I just love Faith. I went
yeah,
for a period where you know I played that probably more than anything,
yeah.
and it leaves so much up to the imagination as well. It's so much is implied. If
True.
that makes any sense,
Yeah,
it's
I think so.
sparse in its own way, but as with
And
like with the Holy Hour, there's so much you can do with those songs.
true.
Like Orange, for example. I adore the live version of Faith on that, and it
Yeah, me
opens up
too.
what is a beautiful song anyway.
Yeah,
But that's a special album for me. So I guess there's a lot of that covers a lot of ground. You've got
yeah.
your poppy aggression of Primary,
Right,
and Doubt,
right.
and then you've got some majestic stuff on there.
Yeah. And I
So
wonder
I was
too,
in,
like
I was
if it like makes you more open to hearing an album like Faith that early on because not that I guess like the way I'm trying to word it is after hearing Standing on the Beach and knowing that that's possible, then you can be like it makes you kind of appreciate like sadder, like darker, things that aren't as
yeah,
like single friendly maybe so much because you know that they can do it. If all they had was Faith, it would be a little less special, I think, because they'd just be like this kind of mopey band that can't do fun shit too. But knowing in your head that this is technically the same band that did Love Cats and Close to Me and stuff, but then you're listening to them do that. It's like when somebody does abstract after they've proven they can do like landscape paintings perfectly and stuff. It's like now you can get weird and shit. Because you've proven
yeah.
you could do it. But I wonder if there's an element of that too. Like
I
for
think I
me.
had, knowing that so many other bases were covered.
Yeah, exactly. What
If I
is?
wanted to be cheered up, I could go and listen
Yeah,
to Push
exactly.
or that. But if I wanted to, if I was spending time on my own and I just wanted to be saturated
Yeah,
with a kind of mood,
here it is.
and funny enough, I used to be a bad flyer. I
Hmm.
used to be quite nervous of flying, and
Yeah.
I went on holiday and I used to play Holy Hour as the plane was taking off
Nice.
because the song actually takes off, doesn't it?
Yeah,
At
yeah.
a certain
Totally
point,
get
and
on
that
the.
was so that's got another sort of special
Awesome.
meaning for me. But yeah,
That's
the
awesome.
dark stuff, I just found it interesting, and it didn't play too much on my having to sort of get into it. It was there's always a lot of really beautiful melody in with the dark stuff as well. So
Yeah.
as I said to you the other day, not that I'll be whistling pornography
Right.
down the street
Maybe
anytime
parts.
soon.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
could do like
maybe.
the
No, I
Strange
meant
Day
like the actual
solo.
title track,
Oh,
like
the
the
title
title
track.
track.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah.
Took me
But there's
about
some
30
beautiful
years
music
to.
on it,
Yeah, for sure.
um,
Um, fight the sickness. Yeah, I think I've listened to it more in the last 3 years for sure than ever. It seems
yeah,
like it totally
yeah.
makes sense now. But yeah, it's do you did you see them much like visually? I'm always curious of people's like because MTV was blowing up big around that time too, almost the same time as their career in the sense of like did the visual aspect. I guess you said you saw them on Top of the Pops and stuff, so you're kind of aware then of the visual.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
bought. There were a couple of books that were out. No,
Yeah.
one in particular, and that was The Cure up to '85, and it had
Yeah.
loads of pictures going right the way back to the start, so I could actually see how their image
Okay. Yeah, that's how I was
developed,
too.
and
Like,
so I got a sense of that as I was buying the albums, and I was building everything up in a linear fashion. I'd
right.
kind of managed to
Use that
you
as a
know
map.
yeah, and so I was well on board with I love the look.
Yeah.
Again, the penny drop there. I completely got. I got what Robert was doing.
Yeah.
I just love the look of it
Yeah.
all,
Yeah. That's
and so
awesome.
that was very much something that I appreciated as well as the music.
Was there something in there that you hadn't heard from other bands that you felt like bands like U2 and stuff weren't covering for you?
Oh,
Something that
just
it's just
I thought quite early on that the Cure were the closest thing to the Beatles that
yeah,
I'd actually just for the even at that point,
yeah,
the amazing breadth of um, mood and sound, and also great melodies.
mm-hmm,
And it's not maybe not an obvious comparison, but we were talking about the difference between Pornography and Wish. Well,
yeah,
if you look at the difference between Pornography and Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, and when they recorded it,
yeah,
that's only 4 years later.
right,
So if you look at the music across those 4 years, I think it's fair to say, without sounding overblown, it's pretty mind blowing.
yeah, it is. That is wild.
It's and in those early days, particularly where Robert had the presence of mind at such a young age
Mm-hmm.
to feel that he didn't have enough say or control over three imaginary boys,
Yeah,
and then persuading Chris Parry to say, we want to have more creative control.
yeah,
And whilst young bands are trying to lure people in with
totally.
this, that, and the other, I mean, yeah, a forest is amazing, but it's still this atmospheric,
Yeah,
you know, um, song. So their next albums are that, Faith, and Pornography, which is so brave.
yeah,
It's
it
almost like
is.
they were trying to shake something off, and then
Right before they even had it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like so strange.
it's pretty amazing,
And
really.
amazing, yeah, after doing like that labels episode and stuff, just of like what they were able to get away with artistically in the sense that he just had such total freedom, which is great, and just,
Yeah,
really catapult him into like that genius category that gets thrown around too loosely. But I mean, it really is amazing that somebody could have that much diversity and be on that caliber of how good the songs are. Just, even like we're saying with those 10-year gaps of, 10 years is a long time, but when you put like when I'm just looking at our podcast episodes of 40th anniversary of Pornography versus 30 of Wish, but you put little 82 Cure up against 92 Cure, it's like completely different, but still enough of a through line. But at the same time, it's like, good God, that's like a lot of material they covered in between 82 and 92. That's like such a giant jump in sound and success and ability to expand on that and just change
it's
even too, if you want to take that angle of
I mean,
like,
it's
wow,
vast.
completely. Yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, that's pretty
But
cool.
there are certain moments that, as much as, I may be wrong here, but I don't know how, in general, you found people to feel about the top. But
Yeah,
certainly from as far as Robert experimenting with his vocals,
yeah,
and also it coming down to only a few of them,
yeah,
and how he kicked off from there, that's a really important, very important album, in fact,
yeah. It's a
uh, as a, you know, to signify what was to come,
mm-hmm.
especially knowing how talented you knew he was
Yeah,
when he's got the bit
exactly.
between his teeth, and as you say, when he's fully engaged,
Right.
it's just
Yeah, I mean, you kind of
incredible.
wonder, any kind of pop star that's talented enough could crank out a "Let's Go to Bed" or "Love Cats" maybe on some level, but then it's like, but to be able to do that and carry over everything they had done prior into a new band, and yeah, the Top's crazy because it is such a transition album. I think that's why I never want to be as hard on it. Is like Chaz
Mm.
and Antonia and stuff are really just like, it sucks. I'm like, oh man, it's cool because like you're saying, you see where it's going, at the time, I don't know. And yeah, I never really, heard that much against it at the time, even at the time being when I got into them like 88, 89 and stuff. But like the idea that when you look at it now, how key it was for bridging that gap and kind of kickstarting, like you're saying, getting him back on track to what would become Head on the Door makes way more sense
It
after
does,
that,
and
and
also
it's
"Kiss Me,
like,
Kiss Me, Kiss Me." I think the
yeah,
top, you can really find
yeah,
a lot of things that he explored on there
yeah.
were developed
Yeah, and luckily some
on
of it,
there.
you know, it was like trial and error too, you know, like all the sax stuff or whatever that would kind of bleed into Kiss Me, but then fade out as the 80s kind of
Yeah,
went
yeah,
away and stuff. But like, you know, it gets more into like world music on certain stuff because he's, you know, I didn't even realize that till later because he's all up in Susie and the Banshees are always doing that shit too, like where you're throwing in all the kooky instruments and stuff more. And, you know, it's cool. And I think just by hanging out with them more prior to that and during it, just seeing her and her vocal range and her on stage presence, Susie Sue, you know, of like
yeah,
he
yeah.
definitely got a lot from that. You know, you could
Oh,
tell it's just
absolutely, and he's admitted that,
yeah,
and Susie Sue was just, right from the start, she was almost like a ready-made, she was almost like the finished article right from the
yeah,
beginning.
yeah. She's just
Just
like almost to the point of like where she, the icon and the image of everything Susie Sue is almost kind of overshadows the actual music of the band. You know, where it's like
yeah, yeah.
she's just this huge thing. You know, and
I
I
don't know if she just said it because I don't know if they've seen each other over the decades since he dropped out of the tour.
yeah,
Because I think John McGeoch gave them 2 days' notice,
yeah.
and Robert Smith said, "Well, at least I gave her 2 weeks." Well,
Yeah,
she
come
didn't
on.
quite see it that way,
No.
But he said, I was facing, I was absolutely. He said he was absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, he was a
And
mess.
then I saw an interview with him where I think he was being playful. He said, "Oh, I don't know what she thinks these days, the old witch."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, they don't
I'm
seem
sure
like they're,
yeah,
sending each other Christmas cards by any chance, but, I
yeah.
don't know, you
But
never
she used to
know.
say, "Oh, well, he was when he was there. He was like he was always with Severin, and he was following Severin
Yeah.
around it." But he was definitely, realised that I think he wanted to develop his own
Yeah.
look, and he took
Yeah.
a lot from them. It's
Yeah,
fair,
it's
yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah, I guess just the idea of overall love for the Cure then, like, do you feel like what you get out of them then from those early days is similar to what you still experience these days? Or, you know, what's the
I
appeal?
keep revisiting the music with the same, uh, enthusiasm and love, and
Yeah,
it gets deeper. And also, I've learned to be patient because there are things that don't hit home,
yeah,
and in time, by talking about it and having conversations, and then going back, and the penny will drop. So I always sort of have faith, excuse the pun, on the fact that I've there's always stuff I'll go back to and enjoy as the years go by. So they are the band that just keep giving.
yeah,
That
yeah,
doesn't
it's
sound too
crazy.
corny. Well, I love what you said, and there's a lot of bands I like, and I've got a very big love of the Beatles, but um, no other band sort of hits the mark for me
Yeah,
like the Cure do, and I agree with those words. They press a lot of buttons, emotional, and also just the joy that I get, even listening to things like 100 Years or Cold, or
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah, these super downer dudes still just either
yeah,
take you back
yeah,
to a
yeah.
happier downtime
Open the
or
champagne,
yeah, why not? You know,
this is great.
but
Yeah,
they're still just fucking cool songs too, you know.
yeah,
So that's what it's like, you know, doesn't really have
yeah,
to even be overanalyzed for 190 episodes, really. It's just a good song, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes the easiest answer is right there, you know.
yeah.
But yeah, they just have such a great run of so many songs that you never get tired of, and like you said, just hit so many spots, you know, so many range of emotions where you can be happy and listen to the sad ones, you can be sad and listen to the happy ones, and they all cross over so much, and they do that weird combo of where the music's fun but the lyrics are sad.
The happy sad thing,
Yeah,
yeah, and
it
that's
is
why
pretty.
it can almost lull you into a um, sense of full security.
Yeah,
If you just get carried away on the words, without, you can go back to them and go, oh, blimey,
yeah, yeah.
that's really quite
It's really not that.
disturbing.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's we always laugh with everybody's like wedding songs of like just like heaven and stuff. It's like, doesn't she like die or fall off a cliff or something at the end? It's not really the
Yeah,
most like romantic
there's
song,
people
but
in the
it's
background go, I'll give it 6 months.
yeah, yeah, he's like waking up alone on some cliff or something. You know?
Yeah, if she falls from a cliff,
Yeah, then, yeah. It's like, jeez.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the most romantic song they have. It's beautiful. So
Yeah.
who knows? I guess teetering on some of the live experiences. Then you've seen some pretty landmark Cure shows. It seemed like. What was? Do
Well,
you
so it's.
recall?
A big regret is I've not seen them for so long, and I want to put that right. As
Yeah,
in the. But yeah, I first saw them at Wembley Arena in '87. So that was in the December.
cool.
So they did 3 shows. I can't remember. I've got the ticket buried upstairs.
Yeah,
We saw them once. Then saw them at Glastonbury in 1990.
yeah, and that
Um,
was a big one, right? Wasn't that
was
Perry's
yeah. Yeah,
first
there
or
was a little
second
bit of
show?
there was the crowd he kept telling everyone to move back. There was a
Oh,
you
right,
know
yeah.
went to Wembley Arena in '89,
Okay, yeah, that
and
was
that
the
was where the
Entreat.
Entreat
Yeah,
recordings were made, and that was on the Sunday night, and we were at the back,
sweet.
and it was unbelievably. I mean, I was a hell of a lot slimmer then, and I was with there were 4 of us, and we got out and we were soaked. But
Wow.
they were absolutely brilliant. And I think at that point, people like to say, "Oh, they're the greatest
Yeah,
gigs that they've ever played." I think up to that point, there were people saying that was the best that they'd ever played. I
yeah.
couldn't
It's
say, but it was a great night.
just listening to
Very
those
sweaty.
recordings. Yeah, you just like
Uh,
that had to have been so cool. That's
yeah,
definitely.
I've just always loved Plain Song as an opening
Yeah.
song. What an absolutely incredible. And then I saw them 2 nights when they on the Trot when they played in London for the Wish tour, and then
Okay.
and where Crane supported them, and then the last time I saw them, which is an embarrassingly long time ago, was at Shepherd's Bush Empire,
Okay.
which was the most intimate venue. I mean, there was still like 3,000 people,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was. I think that was my favourite gig. It
Oh
was
wow.
just they were
Yeah.
fantastic. And he just let out this unbelievable scream. So you've got the amplifiers and the
Yeah.
reverb. You know, reverb's lovely on Robert's voice. It just
Yeah.
does something to it.
Oh
And
yeah.
he let out this blood curdling yet beautiful scream. And me and my mate Pete, we turned around to each other and just went, "Whoa!"
Oh.
My hairs on my body were standing up.
Yeah.
This was back in '97. No,
Oh,
this was at
okay,
Shepherd's Bush
97.
Empire. So that was the last time I saw them, and that was fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Every time I've seen them, it's great, but that was really special.
Are you gonna see them on the fall
I
tour
haven't
then?
got
You think?
anything arranged, but
Nothing set
I
yet?
need to. I'd love to. I
Yeah, I
really want
wonder if some. It seems like some of them aren't sold out yet, so you might have a chance still. So that would be cool.
to. Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully they'll do the rounds. And do you have a time machine one? That's a question I like to ask everybody. If you could go back, whether it be even to relive one you already saw, or to see a show from '79 or something crazy like that.
God, that's a good question. So if I had a time machine, I think it would be to see uh, something from Faith
Yeah,
around that time.
it would be pretty
I
rad.
just want to, there was a show they did, and I remember the date. It was 17th of October '81, and it was. I loved the not that I want the band to be slavishly reproducing what they do on record, but there was
Right.
something about the way why they play primary, and they were starting to because in those really early gigs they played like really quickly, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they was just slowing down a bit, finding their feet. They were sounding great, and I'd love to have seen one of those
Seen,
shows on
yeah.
that Faith tour.
Where he's like playing keyboards and singing at the same
Well,
time and stuff like that. That's a,
that I think when they were in Australia, it was the second time they'd played Charlotte Sometimes, and he's playing 2 keyboards there, and so it's just the voice, 2 keyboard
yeah,
lines, the
yeah.
bass and the drums, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, he sent me that clip. It was great.
Yeah,
That's
that's
so
yeah,
cool. I want to just strip the audio from that and listen to it because yeah, it is like just so stripped down and
and you don't give it a second thought. It's just and they were, this is one of the things about Simon that and you've got to say it about Lowell as well, knowing that Michael had gone. I think that Matthew left because he wanted to play more poppy stuff, and
yeah,
certainly Simon and Lowell bought into the whole vision of taking the music in the
yeah,
direction that it was. and so they just absolutely believed in what they were doing and carried it off live. And so there is something very sort of deep in that. I don't know
Yeah,
if you know what I
yeah,
mean. It's just
nah,
I
totally.
love
It's
seeing it. And
good choices. Yeah, my time machine one changes all the time, so I don't know.
what's yours at the moment?
I don't know. Now that we're talking about that era, I think I would love to see like probably Faith over them just totally falling apart during pornography might be a bit of a train wreck, but like Faith would be really rad to see. I still just the go-to is probably one of those disintegration ones, probably that Wembley one that Entreat was,
Yeah,
it just seems like you're guaranteed an amazing show and just the full experience of trying to visualize that my whole life, listening to
yeah.
those recordings and stuff is like, oh man, I've
And I was
often,
very aware of it, how great it sounded at the time. It was.
yeah, that's
I
cool
felt,
to
yeah,
know it wasn't just
um,
something they magically bottled somehow, it makes it that much cooler.
yeah. And these, that you've got the lineup changes, but you become so familiar with them that everyone has played their part and been necessary. So greedily, it's been
Yeah,
lovely to have the movement because people have come out and come back,
yeah,
and that's definitely added, broadened the DNA of their live shows over the years.
yeah.
Um,
And yeah, I guess something we can wrap up on the note of what do you hope to get out of the future of the Care at this point? Is there
well, it's
anything you're
funny.
looking forward to with the new albums if they
I
ever
don't
do
want to
come out?
sort of say snap, but
Yeah,
I think that if I love it when they do, catchy stuff, and I love because he's so great with melodies and tunes. So
yeah,
I'd love to hear, but at the same time, something sonically interesting. And I think that you know, um, he's had a lot of loss in the last few years, and I understand that that's been channeled into the music. So um, I think I'm hoping there's something special.
yeah.
Um, but we'll see. But I have got high hopes.
Yeah, I think as much as we
I,
all want to say that we're setting the bar low and like whatever, whatever they put out at this
yeah,
point, but at the same time, you're kind of like, man, going on 14 years here, and it would be nice for them to just go out on a real high note, even if it's a low note album, or
well,
whatever it
something
is,
you said which hadn't occurred to me, I thought was interesting, is that he said that I think he only started mixing the album that's going to be released first on
Yeah,
the 1st of April. So whether
the
that's going to
doom
be the
and gloom
dark one,
one.
but he wanted to mix that last, so in
Yeah.
his mind that you know, I
Yeah, we were saying
and
it's
that the
weird that it
popular
sounds like
one,
the popular one sounds like it's already done and the solo
yeah,
album's technically done, but the last one he said was gonna be the doom and gloom one that was supposed to be the one that's coming out 3 years ago or whatever. So, but then we were saying how weird it would it be as far as the finale of the order. You probably should put out the popular one and the solo one and then have the
go out with
last
something
be
incredibly sort of
so yeah, maybe
voluminously dark and
maybe he'll throw
yeah,
us all for a loop again by doing that because yeah, we don't want the last thing we hear Robert sing is to be some weird ass solo album that doesn't have Simon on it or anything. It's just him. But
yeah.
I guess that's how life really works, though. So maybe it
That's
is.
right. Yeah, you can't have it all ways,
They'll
can
have
you?
this big, epic, awesome blast album, and then like a year later, they'll put out this kind of had some cool poppy stuff, and then just it'll die, and they'll put out this like weird solo album. And we're like, okay, cool,
Yeah.
whatever. We'll just put the pieces together. But who knows? Maybe he does have some ultimate big vision.
But
But
just to have something new
yeah,
will be fantastic, as you say, after all these years. And
yeah,
yeah, I can't wait
yeah.
because it's been put off for obvious reasons over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, I think I mentioned before, if it coincides with your 200th
200,
episode,
yeah, that'd be nice if
stay tuned. That'd be just
just drops it out because we
yeah.
need an idea, so that'd be good. 200, and yeah, it'd be a nice time frame too because it should come out. Our episode should be around September, and hopefully the album will come out right before the fall tour starts. Was it start like October? I think is the first dates in
Yeah.
Europe. So yeah, hopefully everybody has at least a month to absorb the new album before launching into
Yeah.
it. But at this point, even if it comes out any point this year, I guess it's a win or ever. So it would really be nice to get a few more little nuggets of like hope at this point. It's starting to get again a little bit of a drought on the updates here. Like,
Yeah,
what's the deal, dude? Is it
yeah, it's
mixed?
just been dry on that front. But
Show us the
when
cover art
he
or
said the
something.
1st of April for mixing it, well, that's April Fools, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe that was just bollocks.
But yeah, hopefully Mixon didn't take too long, but I'm assuming they had most of it good as it was going, and they didn't just starting from scratch. But like you said, he's got a lot to talk about. And that's always when he shines, is when he's putting his real heart into it, I think. And
I agree.
It should be, even if it's the most like downer, depressing album ever. It's like this is what you fuckers wanted, right? Like, all right, you got
Keep
us.
all sharp objects away.
Yeah, so I think we're careful what you ask for thing or something.
Yeah.
but yeah, so we'll see. Fingers crossed. But I don't want to keep you too much longer, and I guess I should tend to the boy here. But yeah, thank you so much. Let us know when the Blitz magazine comes out that if I make the cut.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that will be the next issue.
Oh, yeah.
But I will let you know.
Cool.
And then
yeah, we'll put links for all that too, and plug away when that comes out so people can subscribe and get the article and talks of maybe
exclusive interviews,
on the Patreon. So we'll hit people up over there if there's ways that we can do that. And one of the first things that got us communicating too that I want to tell people about is we did a cover track of a Cure song, since I got really enjoying your tunes, which you got a good stack of tunes that are really about to come out soon.
And likewise.
But
honestly, we've been playing your Bear Wallow, your stuff, and Campbell Plant. It's just been, fantastic.
Yeah.
But my wife's even writing.
Right. That's awesome. I
can't wait to hear some lyrics,
But where is a good place people can check out your tunes that you prefer?
Well, actually, I've got so much that I'm going to be uploading. I'm going to actually make my first upload to Bandcamp in the next couple of months.
So that
and I've got a song that will be released on a label. The producer's called Mikkel Mortensen,
right on.
And that will be a song called Love Struck, a little love song. So I've got stuff that's not out there yet, but there'll be stuff on Bandcamp and over the next sort of few months. So,
we'll definitely push those links when we got them ready to roll. And
thank you very much.
Everybody out there will check them out too, because
I'm really excited. I've been having a lot of fun, and
cool.
As I said, doing the cover with you on. Are you going to say what it is?
Yeah, let's do it. It's we pretty much finished the first one of Holy Hour. Seemed fitting place to start with the cover is the Holy Hour tune. So
it had to be.
And
I'm really pleased with it.
Cool.
I think it sounds
great.
I
think it's pretty rad too.
Now the vocals.
Who knows? But
you do.
Some singing, little guitar in there, and you brought it all together with the production.
The six-string bass.
Yeah, everything's in there.
And then I'm just about to kick off Other Voices, and that'll be probably next week. So
awesome. Yeah, we figured we'd put a B-side to our other cover there. And we came up with the name Stone White Clowns there. So I like the idea of keeping with the faith references and indirectly calling ourselves clowns as we're doing this is kind of funny too. So,
but the clown from it.
Yeah, it's a spooky, evil clown for sure.
Yeah.
Mysterious. But so we'll post that all over too when we get those officially up and sharing with the world. So lots to share
I'm really
with these people, and so much fun collaborating with you. So thank you for
same
for
here. It's been
be a part of it.
And it's one of those the wonders of modern technology. If I can, the fact that you can do that, we're 4,000 miles away from each other. And it was just such an easy, and also because we love the music, and it was just such a pleasurable, easy thing to do and instinctive. And it's been great fun. I've loved it.
All right, cool, man. All right.
Well thanks once again. I've had a great time, and thanks
likewise.
for listening to me ramble on about
anytime,
a subject that's just so close to my heart, and I know it is to you. And obviously, and lots of other people out there. But it's it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, if I didn't have the kiddo to feed, we'd go for another 2 hours easy, I think. So. Can't have a starving child.
I'll see you in about half an hour.
Yeah. So, throw some cereal out to him or something. Here, eat. I'm talking.
Yeah, just the milk, the box. And,
the dish. Better get him some food. But I hope you have a lovely weekend, and thanks so much.
And you too, Gav. Thank you very much. Take care.
All right, again, a very special thank you to Mike. Awesome talking with you, and look forward to all the many projects on the horizon. And before we wrap up with what's coming up next in the podcast and Patreon praise, we got a last-minute contribution from Kate herself. So this is her thoughts regarding the single High.
I just listened to High consecutively, 10 times, and I just realized something. That you can sing Pictures of You over top of it, and it just sounds like another harmony part. And if you listen to the arpeggiated guitar, where it's like do 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 do, that is almost exactly the Pictures of You melody. Bam.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I think anybody that's in the mashups out there should take this one on. But it's funny as hell that she sent that in, because right after I'd recorded the episode with Mike and had not received her contribution yet, I picked up the guitar and I was like, yeah, I've never really messed around with those bass 6 parts that we were talking about and the little riffs and all that, and just started doing the little and then it was funny, like I just kind of got comfortable with it and started drifting, and all of a sudden it did merge into the and I was like, wait a minute, I'm playing Pictures of You by accident. But so yeah, very similar crossover. They're both in A, kind of in the same range, depending on where you do the little different riffs and different parts. Like she said, you could sing the melody over different parts. So maybe further praise to The Cure that they don't mix up their do-do-do-do-do-do's and such on those parts. And something just to ponder next time you listen to it. So thank you for that, Kate, and always good to hear from you. And speaking of Kate, she is one of our loyal Patreon listeners. But who's that over there that's gonna come join in and read off some Patreon names? Is it my buddy? It is Henson. How's it going, man?
I am doing well. I am a protocol droid.
Oh boy. So yeah, you just got over your second round of COVID, right? And
Yes.
So did we have to? Are you more machine than human now?
Roger Dodger.
Oh, great. Well, thanks for coming in. You're going to help us out with the Patreon names again, right?
Yes, a roomie.
All right. How about you read off the names of these fine people that are helping out with the show?
We have Donna, Craig, Jeff Hilton, Jeff Jones, Suzanne, Ben, John, Allison, Alan, Dion, Nemesio.
And our newest one.
And Danny.
Yeah, welcome, Danny, and thank you so much to the whole crew out there. And of course, Kate, as we mentioned earlier, is a loyal Patreoner or Patreoneer. Who runs CureThreads.com, a wonderful website where you can satisfy all your Cure shopping needs. She has some cool, original Cure-inspired designs over there and available for you. All kinds of Cure themes, everything from Disintegration to Love Cats to Caterpillar. And if you want to stick to celebrating Wish, there's a cool Friday red heart and moon shirt and a black I really don't know what I'm doing here t-shirt. And always new stuff popping up over there too, so check back regularly. And you can get the designs on everything from socks to mugs to t-shirts for your dogs even. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Yeah, or your dewbacks. Get a do-back t-shirt. CureThreads.com. It's simply elegant. Scott Kruger is familiar with do-backs. He is the co-host of the Sarlacc Digest and All Star Wars podcast. This is the Star Wars podcast you've been looking for. Did that work? No, it doesn't matter. I don't need to use the Jedi mind trick to convince you, because you need to go check out this podcast if you're even a Star Wars fan on any level. Join them every Wednesday night on YouTube, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where they hash out all the latest rumors, updates, and theories on what's to come in the Star Wars universe. Obi-Wan's coming out this Friday, man. Can you believe it?
Oh my gosh, I am so excited.
All right. Close. They're going to be diving into it, so great time to join in. And if you can't catch the live show, all the replays are also available everywhere you listen to podcasts. Matt says that Star Wars is great and all, but welcome back to the real world where people need blood every day. So if you can donate, that would be really awesome. What about you, Henson? Do you donate oil now?
Yes.
You going to donate oil instead of blood?
I guess
You're cool with that? It doesn't seem as painful? Well, for all you humans out there, go and get the Red Cross Blood Donor app. It's free and an easy way to schedule an appointment, give your blood, and send it to those in need. If you are in the Calgary, Canada area, join Lisa and her buddies up at Dickens. It's a pub/venue that hosts a wide range of live shows and events. Check out their full schedule and gig details at dickensyyc.com. And also keep an eye out on those live streams, Dickens YYC on Twitch. For their live streams and be a part of that action. Can you stream live from your brain now, Henson?
Oh yeah, now that I got this new microchip,
Yeah.
I can do anything.
All right, and Chaz is always uploading the coolest new Kier design shirts at 17secondshirts.bigcartel.com or follow his Instagram at 17_seconds to see what's the latest up for pre-order. I think you might still be able to get a Wish dad hat that he's kicking off. It looks really rad. I can't wait for that one to show up. So it's gonna be my official fishing hat of the summer. It's going to look rad. It's got that elusive bird, squid, rooster thing on it that we've been talking about. So don't miss out on that. And I want to send a giant shout out and congratulations to our buddy Antonio, who just officially married his sweetheart, Melissa, yesterday. So woohoo! Congrats. Yes. Hope those two lovebirds had the magical day that they wanted and deserve. And we wish them all many, many years of bliss. So congrats, guys. And that's about all for us for now. We'll have more Cure Talk for you in 2 weeks. Hopefully we can figure out how to get Henson back to being a human. Or maybe he's more useful as a droid, a protocol droid. You can translate stuff for me and stuff.
I don't know. I still need to check out this microchip.
Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and follow us on Instagram. Chime in on some comments on the Facebook page. We're hoping to have a Simon Gallup birthday episode coming up next. Woo! So hopefully we can get it together. Brace yourselves. As always, thanks for listening. And talk hard. And remember,
Talk hard.
all right, somebody plug the professor into the hyperdrive.